Good morning. I'm wondering how many of you know who Bezalel is? Show of hands. Good. I'm guessing you're thinking it's the school up on Mount Scopus, perhaps, the Bezalel Academy, which produces thousands of extraordinary artists every year. And when it moves downtown to Jerusalem, will be part of an extraordinary revitalization of downtown Jerusalem. That is not the Bezalel I am referring to. I am talking about the Bezalel in Exodus, in Ki Tisa. He is in that chapter that has the making of the golden calf, the commandment to observe Shabbat, and when Moses breaks the 10 Commandments. Big location here. Bezalel is the guy who God appoints and endows with wisdom, knowledge, and Ruach Elohim, divine inspiration. To me, he is the iconic, original multimedia artist. And he has been chosen by God to take all the resources of the people to make the Mishkan. No artist, no Mishkan, no community. That tabernacle is the place around which the Jews will gather throughout their travels and become a community. So it's pretty extraordinary to me that in our earliest text, the artist is recognized as central to the creation of our community. Really critically important. So fast forward to 2012, and a study has been done on Jewish philanthropy, and this may not come as a surprise to you, that 76% of all Jewish giving goes to non-Jewish causes. How many of you know someone on your community symphony, ballet, opera, museum? I'm not seeing any hands, I can't believe that. You're all on the boards of those things because that's what Jews do. Of the other 24%, 8 goes to Israel, and this is the really terrible thing, 1%, no, it's just that 1% goes to Jewish culture. So I'm contemplating what is wrong with this picture while I'm flying to Israel. I'm going to work on our American Academy in Jerusalem, which is part of a whole resurgence of using culture to revitalize the city. And I stumble on an article in El Al magazine. It talks about the 100th anniversary of Hadassah Hospital, and Miriam Freund Rosenthal, the 11th president, is going to ask Marc Chagall to make something for her new building. And she is really nervous, and she is terrified. And she goes to Marc Chagall, and do you know what he says? I have waited my whole life for a call from the Jewish people. Marc Chagall. So I'm thinking maybe there's a failure to communicate how important artists are to our story and to telling our story and to connecting us together. So I wanted to share a couple of examples with you, and I'm going to start with inimitable Sandy Dubowski, who made the film Trembling Before God.
Even when you're sinning, you're with God. When one falls right into God's lap. That's how one falls.
I thought for a while, well, how could I be a religious lesbian? How does that go together? And I thought for a while, well, what if I'm not religious? And it was like almost a physical revulsion, this physical rejection of that thought, like it just couldn't possibly be.
So Sandy's film premiered at Sundance, went to over 30 countries, has been seen by 8 million people. It's been part of 200 meet and talk conversations for 200,000 people. It's been shown in 17 Orthodox shuls around North America. It is even part of the pastoral training at Yeshiva Chochvei Torah. Talk about change and creation of a community. I also know from the many filmmakers that we support that the cinema should be spelled S-Y-N because it's become like the synagogue, and that many people go to the cinema and to Jewish film festivals for their version of shul. And some of our filmmakers, Ilana Trackman, who made Praying with Lior, Judith Helfand, who made A Healthy Baby Girl, which is about genetics, Nicole Opper's Off and Running. These films go from Tribeca to college campuses to JCCs around the world promoting dialogue. I want to talk about another kind of art. I was in Israel. I saw the Batsheva Dance Company. This is such an important topic to all of us, how Israel is represented. Batsheva is probably their best ambassador. They tour all over the world. And when they get home, their artistic director, Ohad Naharin, insists that they are using dance to build community both in Tel Aviv and throughout Israel. One of Ohad's students, an artist named Sar Harari, a choreographer who was part of the first 6 Points Fellowship for Emerging Jewish Artists. He became an artist in resident at Beit Elohim, the shul that Andy Bachman has really reinvented. And Sar started as I'll teach some classes for you, you give some rehearsal space to me. And he has really modeled how an artist can be part of community renewal and engagement. I want to give a shout out to the LA Federation System because they gave an office to artist Will Deutsch. He is their artist in residence, and I think he is the most popular person in their building. I also want to talk about the artist as contemporary commentator, someone who takes our texts and our rituals and gives them purpose and meaning for people today. Jeremiah Lockwood, a little wisp of a guy with a very deep voice, who he channels from his grandfather, a very famous chazan, created a Rosh Hashanah service straight out of the liturgy with an extraordinary band, and 600 young people experienced the high holidays in a way I don't think they've ever experienced them before, and possibly not since. My poster child, Galit Dardashti, from Iranian descent, created a song cycle based on slichot, the penitential prayers that are said before the high holidays. Now, Galit had gotten her PhD in Mizrahi music. She had been a 6 Points Fellow and created a song cycle about women in the Bible. And for this, she took recordings of her grandfather, who had sung for the Shah. And she took the only recording in Hebrew, and she wove it through this cycle of songs with an extraordinary band of Palestinian musicians. And she took it on tour, and they were in residence throughout the country. They were at Tufts, they were at the Rothko Chapel, they were at grand performances in LA. And that piece of music with its video moved people and gave them an exposure to this very not so well known ritual and gave them a whole new sense of it. I don't know about you, but music is really important to me. It's my connecting thread to my Jewish life. And when I came to the foundation, we were trying to think about how could we create a kind of system that would take this enormous talent that is bubbling up everywhere and send it around the country. So we created a new Jewish culture network, and we brought in partners from around the country at JCCs, at other venues, who really want to create new work of the best quality and bring it to their audiences. Well, we commissioned Galit, and then we commissioned Alicia Svigals. You may know her from the Klezmatics. She's a fiddler. She's created a score for this film, The Yellow Ticket. 1918, silent Pola Negri, femme fatale. She walks around with a leopard. You've probably seen her in those fabulous posters. The score is beautiful. Jazz pianist named Marilyn Lerner is part of it. Alicia and Marilyn will be touring the country next year, and they'll be doing workshops and residencies that use the stuff of the film and the stuff of the music to create community and learn about our rituals and our faith and our history and our culture. So I go back to Bezalel, and I wonder what he would think. And I think he'd be very pleased. I think he'd be delighted to see all these artists who are carrying on his legacy of creating community through their talents, through their inspiration. And I think he would be so disappointed at the resources that we are giving them to do their work. 1%. What if we could just take that 1% and make it 5%? Imagine the new films that could be made, that could be engaging millions around the globe. Imagine Alicia and Marilyn traveling to 25 cities and teaching and giving inspiration through their work. Imagine the new works that could get made using our texts and our rituals to connect people. Imagine that Batsheva might be able to stay home a little more often and create community around Israel through dance. Imagine those fabulous Bezalel artists really giving Jerusalem more renewal and coming here and sharing their craft on college campuses. Imagine how many artists are waiting for their call from the Jewish people. So I challenge you, in your philanthropy, to think about how you can move us up a few more percentage points and create so much more connection. I invite you to consider that Bezalel was the community organizer at the beginning of our journey. Let these artists become the future of the Jewish people. We have an appetite for this. There is reason to invest. You can see from the numbers. They are the key to our future.